At the family meeting, I said, "My kids can't wait for our family trip to Disneyland." My sister laughed and replied, "We already vacationed there without you." I just nodded and laughed. 5 days later, I bought tickets to Hawaii with my kids and posted on Facebook, "A vacation without their drama." And when they saw it 30 minutes later, their angry faces were at my door. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that being part of a family doesn't guarantee you a place in it. Not really. I've always felt like the backup daughter, the one they call when Melinda's busy, the one they mention out of politeness. My parents never said it out loud, but it was obvious in the small things. The way my mom's eyes lit up when Melinda entered the room. How my dad only ever asked about my kids if someone else brought them up first. Melinda has always been the favorite. He knows it too. She's the kind of person who's used to being the center of every room. And if she's not, she finds a way to twist the spotlight back on herself. When we were kids, she once faked spraining her ankle during my birthday party just so she could be carried around. My parents still laugh about it like it was cute. So, when Mom announced a family meeting to finally plan the group vacation they've been hinting at for years, I was hesitant. But Eli and Harper, my kids, they were excited and I wanted to give them something. Even if it meant sitting through another evening of subtle jabs and being talked over. We arrived at my parents' house with a box of pastries and hopeful hearts. My kids sat politely, Harper sketching on the couch, Eli flipping through a Lego catalog. I looked around at the usual scene. Jake half listening with a drink in his hand. Corey bragging about his new grill. Melinda dressed like she was about to walk a red carpet instead of sit in her childhood living room. Everyone was chatting like this was just another Sunday. When the topic finally came up, the trip, I leaned in just a little. I'd been waiting for this. I smiled and said it casually, trying to sound like it was already understood. My kids can't wait for our family trip to Disneyland. Melinda didn't even pause. He just laughed loudly, almost theatrically. We already vacationed there without you. And that was it. No one corrected her. No one looked at me. No one even flinched. Jake glanced at his phone. My dad reached for more chips. My mom looked down at her lap. The worst part wasn't what she said. It was the fact that no one seemed surprised. This had been planned, agreed on, executed without a word to me. I nodded, stood up, and called for Eli and Harper to get their things. Nobody stopped me. Nobody asked where I was going. I don't think anyone even noticed we'd walked out until the doors shut behind us. 5 days later, I booked 3 plane tickets to Hawaii. I didn't ask anyone's opinion. I didn't tell a soul. I just did it. I posted a photo of the itinerary on Facebook with one simple caption. A vacation without their drama. That post got 23 likes and one very passive-aggressive comment from my mom that I deleted immediately. But it took exactly 30 minutes for the knock to come. A sharp, urgent one. I opened the door to find Melinda, Jake, and my mother standing there. All of them glaring like I had crossed some invisible line. And they had no idea how far I was willing to go now that I'd finally stopped caring about their approval. I wasn't even surprised to see them at my door. Not really. What surprised me was how fast they moved once they realized I wasn't going to sit quietly this time. 30 minutes. That's all it took after my post. Like they were all waiting for me to break character. Melinda was standing in front, arms crossed like she was ready to issue a warning. Behind her was Jake, hands stuffed into his hoodie pocket like he had nothing to do with any of this. And then my mom already upset, already rehearsing her lines. Melinda was the first to talk naturally. So Hawaii, that's your response. I didn't answer. Not right away. I let her finish whatever self-righteous paragraph she had lined up. My mom said my post was unnecessary, that it stirred things up. She said I made it sound like they abandoned me, which I reminded her is exactly what happened. She claimed the Disneyland trip wasn't meant to exclude us, that it all came together so fast. Jake stood there like a spectator, saying nothing but looking like he wished he could vanish through the porch. I asked them straight out, "When were you planning to tell me?" They all froze. Melinda glanced at Mom. Jake finally looked down. No one answered because we all knew the truth. They weren't going to tell me. They were going to keep it quiet, post about it later, and let me and my kids find out the way we always do, secondhand and too late. My mom tried her usual approach, guilt. She said I was acting dramatic, that I was blowing things out of proportion, that I was teaching my kids to hold grudges. Then Melinda threw in the word that tipped everything over. It was a small trip. Let it go. Small. My kids had talked about that trip for months. They'd saved up their allowances for souvenirs. Harper had drawn pictures of the castle. Eli asked me every week how many more sleeps until Disneyland, and she had the nerve to call it small. I told them I wasn't canceling Hawaii. Not for them. Not after what they did, that we were going. And if that bothered them, they could feel exactly as left out as we did. They didn't take that well. They left without saying goodbye. The next day, my dad called, said he wanted to talk. Just me and him. No drama. I figured maybe he wanted to apologize. Maybe he'd seen how unfair this had all been. So I went. Big mistake. I walked in and immediately saw a printed copy of our Hawaii itinerary on the table. I asked how he got it. He said Melinda had sent it to them. Said she was worried about me making impulsive decisions out of anger. Then Mom walked in holding the same paper, already shaking her head. He told me I was being divisive, that I was the one creating tension now, that the Hawaii trip wasn't about healing. It was about revenge, that I told her I was doing exactly what they had done, taking a trip, just without them. She picked up the itinerary, tore it in half, and said this family wasn't going to survive if I kept pushing like this. I didn't say anything. I didn't cry. I just walked out. I drove straight to the local airline office, had them reprint everything, confirmed our hotel, and rechecked our rental car. I spent more money than I'd planned that day, but I didn't care. I was going to make sure this trip happened. I told Eli and Harper that night. They were thrilled. They didn't even ask why the rest of the family wasn't coming. I think they already knew. After that, the silence started. No replies to messages. The family chat went dead. My cousin's birthday party was suddenly rescheduled. Melinda's husband unfollowed me on Facebook. Grandma didn't even call to check in. One afternoon, Harper came into the kitchen holding her tablet. She asked why Grandma hadn't heart reacted to her drawing like she always did. I had no answer, just a slow, heavy anger settling in my chest. They wanted a family vacation without me. They got it, but they also started something they didn't know how to stop. Once cracks show in a family like ours, people start looking around and noticing everything else they've ignored for years. Soon, it wasn't just about the vacation anymore. It started with a text from Jake's wife. No greeting, no explanation, just a photo of my parents' backyard. The same cheap folding chairs, the same sun-faded umbrella, and a new white banner stretched between two poles that read, "Family Barbecue. Let's talk." I stared at it for a moment, then locked my phone and walked away. There was no apology, no acknowledgement, just a thin, desperate invitation wrapped in burgers and plastic cutlery. That's how my family handles problems. They throw a gathering and expect everyone to forget why they were upset that I wasn't going to forget. Instead of going, I took Eli and Harper to the coast. It was cool and overcast, but they didn't care. They collected shells. Harper tried digging a tunnel with a broken plastic shovel we found, and Eli kept daring the waves to chase him. We got soaked, bought hot chocolate afterward, and drove home with the windows cracked and our clothes smelling of salt. We didn't talk about the barbecue. We didn't need to. Even the kids knew something had changed. When we got home, I had 14 missed calls, 10 from my mom, the rest from Jake and probably Melinda using Corey's phone. Then the messages came. First guilt, then angered. I don't know what's gotten into you. This isn't how we handle things in this family. That you're hurting the kids. Bonnie, that we invited you. You didn't show up. Then Melinda posted in the family group chat. If we're dividing things now, I want the lake house keys back. You barely use it anyway. That was the first real tear in the fabric. That I didn't reply. I just watched. Jake responded, then I'm taking the trailer. I paid for half of it. Corey jumped in. You paid for half. What about the roof repairs? That was my money. Melinda fired back. You also stayed there for 2 weeks without asking anyone. Just like that, the illusion collapsed. It wasn't about me anymore. I'd only lit the fuse. What followed was years of quiet resentment spilling out in group messages. Everyone suddenly had a list. Who used what? Who paid for what? Who never said thank you? And all of it played out in front of Grandma. That's when things shifted. The next evening, Harper came to me again with her iPad. She said Grandma still hadn't liked her drawing. The truth was, Grandma hadn't liked anything in days. She'd gone completely silent, with the kids and with all of us. The following morning, my mom showed up unannounced. I wasn't going to answer, but she kept ringing the bell like there was an emergency. I opened the door just enough. She didn't ask to come in. She stepped inside like she still lived there. She looked at the suitcases by the door, and asked if we were really going through with it. I said yes. We were going to Hawaii. Nothing had changed. She stood quietly for a moment, then sat down and started talking about the damage I'd caused, about how upset and worried Grandma was, about how the family was falling apart because of what she called my vendetta. I let her talk until she reached the real reason she was there. She said Grandma had started talking about updating her will. That got my attention. She said Grandma wanted to simplify things, didn't want to leave a mess behind. That meant sitting everyone down and deciding how things would be handled. She said Grandma wanted to speak to each of us one-on-one before making final decisions. She didn't say it outright, but I understood. The house, the savings, the lake property, the trust, everything was back on the table. Suddenly, Hawaii wasn't the only thing being fought over. I didn't say much. I just nodded and told her I'd think about it. She left soon after, but I already knew I'd go, not because I wanted peace, not because I forgave them, but because after the silence, the lies, the ripped tickets, I wasn't going to let them shut me out of this dude. I didn't even know Grandma still wrote letters, but one arrived, cream-colored, my name written in the same neat handwriting from years ago. No return address. Inside, only a few words. Bonnie, come Sunday at 3. Alone. We need to talk before I finish everything. No warmth. Very her. She hadn't spoken during any of the fighting, but when I went, she opened the door herself. Older, thinner, but firm. She said she knew everything, and that the arguing disgusted her. She showed me her will, names and assets marked out. The lake house section was circled. She said she remembered who treated it like a home, not a backdrop or a party spot. Then she said she wouldn't finalize anything unless we all sat down together and acted like family. If not, everything would go to Uncle Richard. She meant it. She wanted to see who we were without money involved. The next day, Mom called. Grandma wanted a dinner. Everyone. Mandatory. What they didn't know was that I'd already seen the pages. Melinda begging, Jake arguing, notes in the margins. And none of them knew Grandma had already spoken to Richard. That night felt wrong from the start. Rain, tension, everyone already there. Inside, it smelled like pot roast and resentment. No one greeted me. Grandma sat at the head of the table, silent and watching. We ate. Forced conversation. Fake laughs. Old stories rewritten. I stayed quiet. And just as Grandma began cutting the pie, Melinda leaned forward, smiled, and said, I was thinking we could work something out about the lake house. You don't even use it that often. My fork hit the plate before I answered. I looked at Grandma. She didn't react. I told Melinda I wasn't sharing the lake house, and that we were done pretending things were equal. She mocked me, said it was just a rundown summer place. I told her it wasn't about the house. It was about principle. About being excluded, overlooked, only included when it benefited them. Jake tried to smooth it over, saying it was just one trip. I stopped him. It was years. This was just the first time I spoke up. That's when Grandma stood. She said she was tired of watching the family fall apart one quiet insult at a time. She said she gave us a chance to act like family, and we couldn't even fake it. Then she told us everything was going to Richard. No changes. Not punishment, peace. And she closed her door. No one spoke after that. I left. The next morning, the group chat lit up, suddenly polite, suddenly desperate. I didn't respond. 5 months later, Grandma passed away peacefully. No drama. Just a note asking us not to fight. The funeral was small and cold. Everyone cried. No one asked me to speak. At her apartment, the lawyer read the final will. Everything went to Richard. No twists. No exceptions. He planned to sell it all and donate half. He didn't even want the photo albums. Afterward, something shifted. Jake admitted we'd messed up. No one argued. In the weeks that followed, the family softened. Messages came back, kinder this time. Invitations without strings. We're not close, but we're better. Maybe once the money was gone, what mattered finally showed. And for the first time in years, it feels like they're trying, not for gain, but because they lost something they can't replace.